Hi, so Abraham from Talking About Games uploaded a video last week on running tabletop RPGs with larger groups. He said some really good stuff in that, and I'm not just going to repeat everything he said, but it made me think about a sort of player archetype that isn't very often talked about, but I see it pretty often. I haven't started with a new group in 2 or 3 years at this point, but prior to my current running group, I would see at least one of these people per maybe 5 or 6 players. And that's the passive player. Uh, Tabletop RPGs as a hobby, like most nerd hobbies, they attract people that are not socially adept, let's say. Um, and a lot of them are just they're there to maybe play a board game, but if the other 4 or 5 or however many people in the group are there to role play and there's some board game elements to it because that's what a tabletop RPG is, uh, they will get the hint that it's like, oh, this isn't Monopoly, right? We're not playing a board game here. This is something different, but I'm still interested. I still want to stay here, or something like that. If you are a more passive player, consider yourself to be. Let me know if I'm off the mark there and there's something completely different. What do I mean by passive player? If it's not self-explanatory, you'll have 4 players in your party. Um, in the room you see a goblin next to a chest. And maybe some of the players start speaking to the goblin, like, what's going on? What are you doing in this room? What's inside that chest? One of the players ignores the goblin, runs up, bash, knocks it open. And the passive player in the group is just sitting there kind of watching things happen. And, maybe they wait. They go, maybe one of your other players soon is like, I'm going to cast a spell at the goblin. No, the goblin makes it save. You roll initiative. And then the passive player's like, oh, okay, I'll roll initiative. Goes around, I cast my spells. The rogue goes first, goes up and tries to disarm him. Maybe he's a heart of gold rogue and he's trying to take care of the situation non-lethally. And then the passive player goes, okay, I'm gonna roll the hit. They're just very dry. They're very dry. They react rather than act upon the world. Maybe and very often they'll have player like goals for their character, but only you, the GM, know their goals, and they don't really talk about their goals to the other player characters. They don't try to actively make those goals happen, and I think a lot of it might be out of they don't want to steal the spotlight. They see all of these other people doing their thing, and it's like, okay, well, let them do their thing, even if it's completely antithetical to what their character is supposed to do, because they don't want to start that inter-party conflict. And I think that's how most people are. Most people don't like conflict, especially most modern people. They want to de-escalate. They would rather yield to incoming force if it's not actively harming them. So what can we do about these passive players? Because everything I've described so far is basically saying, they're generally the type of people where if you go up to them and go, come on, roleplay, do something, they're not going to do that. They're not going to respond well to that. So here's some subtle ways that I've done to sort of, in larger groups in particular, but this could also work in smaller groups. If you've noticed, hey, it's been like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and this character hasn't really done anything. Maybe you as a player, or if you're the DM, if there's an NPC there, you make a battle plan, everyone's agreed with it. All right, the wizard's gonna cast some buff spells on us, then the rogue's gonna kick in the door, throw in a smoke bomb or whatever, and then we'll rush in. All right, everybody agree with that? And then it's like, well, hang on, what do you think? Whatever this character's name is. You haven't said anything in a while, or are you sure you want to do this? There's nothing wrong. something like that to get them to at least have a response, right? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can be a very simple, yeah, that sounds like a great plan. Well, let's go ahead with it. Reminds you that they're a living person. They're alive. They're there. They're not just They're not just there to be a die roller. Or at least gives you the illusion that they're not there to be a die roller, and that's kind of what a lot of what tabletop RPGs are about. There's a lot of the veil, the illusion that is that has to be maintained, and as long as they're helping maintain that veil and not actively poking holes in it, that's good. I think another thing that you can do is not fall into the trap of it can be really tempting, even as a GM or DM or a game runner that doesn't normally do this, to go, hey you, what do you do? Even if you would never ask that to the whole group, it can be tempting to go, damn, I've seen this player. This player's not doing anything over the past session or the past hour of this session, and it's like I want them to do something. What do you do? Then it's even worse almost than if you do regularly ask that, because then it just kind of everyone breaks and is like, oh, he's clearly asking that guy because he's been really passive. I've seen that happen a couple of times, and so I think avoiding that and just letting that passive player be passive, again, as long as they're not poking holes in the veil of things, go right ahead. And then you can sort of passively encourage them to act just by put them in threatening situations. A passive play, they don't have to, engage in long, thought-out dialogue with other characters, especially, their character might have low charisma. Actually, that brings up a good point. I think I'll make a video, remind myself of this, I think I'll make a video on low charisma players playing high charisma characters. Because I think the subject of playing smarter characters than you are comes up a lot. But charisma, I haven't seen too many people make videos about that, so I'll think about that. But yeah, it doesn't mean they have to have these long, complex political intrigue dialogue situations with anyone, but perhaps there is an orc lining up a bow right at you, or this wizard is beginning to cast the first bits of a long ritual which will do some great evil if you don't stop him. And then the silence is the unspoken, what do you do? And then if they don't act, of course, just keep going. They're gonna get shot. Doesn't mean immediately kill them, right? Maybe don't do it with like a cannon or something that's going to kill them immediately. But go, all right, you're not acting. I haven't told you to roll initiative. You need to tell me you're acting in combat. You need to tell me, oh yeah, I'm going to fight back. All right, now we have two combatants. If I have a guy pulled up with a bow on you or charging at you with a sword, and I pause and I wait for you to respond, and you don't tell me anything, okay, we only have one combatant. This guy is effectively getting a surprise round on you if you're not going to act, right? And that can build up this like, oh crap. Well, at the base level, even a passive player, they don't want their character to die. Well, for like no reason. We can have fun character deaths, of course, but you don't want your character to die just because you sat there and did nothing. So creating these exigent, urgent situations, there's a $5 word for you, creating these urgent situations where it's like, you need to do something, and I'm not going to use the mechanics of the game to tell you do something. You do something, and then we'll use the mechanics of the game. That can encourage a very passive player to roleplay more. And of course, if you're a fellow player or have an NPC in the scene or whatever, however your game is structured, you can sort of encourage them through dialogue, through asking them direct questions and sort of, putting them on the spot just a little bit to encourage them to come out of their shell. Because, a lot of us, we started playing tabletops because we couldn't find other hobbies to do. That's the truth of it. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. Obviously, there's the ugly side of that introvert culture, let's say, which is not passive, but the reason they couldn't find any other hobbies is because they're annoying and generally terrible people to be around. Of course, don't gatekeep. Gatekeeping is bad. You want those people, just let those people into the hobby. But as Abraham says, you can't even, there is no gate in the first place. But yeah, so let me know what you think. Do you have passive players? Have you not experienced this? Are you one of those passive players? Have you tried any of these techniques? Do you have more techniques? I'd like to hear your comments. Yeah, that's it for now. Bye-bye.